what's up, all you burners, nose, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are ya?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. Before we do, though, this week's episode with Mrs. Weedman and I are covering the latest cannabis research, science and health, political news, international news, and Mrs. Weedman's going to end it with some cannabis culture. Now, let's get normal with Triangle Kush, grown by FOMO 773, that was given to us by our good friend Midwest Terps, and it came from the Midwest Terp off Michigan versus Illinois. Triangle Kush is an indica dominant hybrid strain that is thought to be descended from the Florida-grown version of the classic OG Kush. This bud is named as a tribute to the three marijuana capitals of Florida: Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami. This bud packs a super potent 20% plus average THC level and a classic Kush effects that you'll fall in love with over and over again. The Triangle Kush High hits you first with the uplifted rush of energy that you can feel behind the eyes. You'll experience an increase in focus, and that's slightly heavy as well, bordering on making you stony baloney. A relaxing body high comes next, washing over you in a warming waves, leaving you feeling almost like you're floating on air. Thanks to these powerful effects and the high THC level, Triangle Kush is recommended for the experience using suffering from conditions such as chronic pain, migraines, chronic fatigue, glaucoma, nausea, and muscle spasms or tremors. This bud has a spicy lemon citrus flavor with a notable woody aftertaste. The aroma is very spicy and earthy with the lemony fuel overtone that's very pungent. Triangle Kush buds are round leafy forest green nugs with long, thin, dark orange hairs and coating of sugary, bright white crystal trichomes. I'm excited because I love Triangle Kush. We smoked years ago on the show.
A long time ago.
That we got, and it is absolutely fantastic. When I was drying it, it smelled delicious, opening up a nice tasty beverage of that hoppy refresher that I love so much that complements every strain that we smoke. Salute, everybody. And while I'm getting to smoke this delicious Triangle Kush, Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you about 8decades.com. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yes. If you haven't heard, we have a cannabis accessory line or lifestyle brand that is called 8 Decades. So head over, check us out at 8decades.com. That is EIGHT decades.com. There you're going to find all of our products, which we created. They're original products to us. Nobody else developed them. I thought I could develop them all myself. I needed a little help with a product designer.
From some friends.
And so they helped us get everything into CAD and get everything into 3D design and get everything into manufacturing. But it was a very much a passion project of mine and Mr. Weedman's. So if you head over to 8decades.com, you're going to see our original smoke set. It's all 16 gauge stainless steel. We've got Miran violet glass from the Netherlands for storage for all of your cannabis goods. And we have hemp clothing from Young Maven. So we are co-branded with Young Maven. They're out of LA, and they make beautiful hemp and organic cotton textiles. And so you'll find some of that there as well. You're going to find links to the Weedman 420 podcast, and you will find swag for it as well.
Yay.
So head on over, sign up for a newsletter, and you will get free shipping on your first order and see what we're all about. You can also donate to Last Prisoner Project while you're there.
Yeah. And as I always say, if you support 8decades.com, we could pay our producer, Shawty, because we love her and we need her all the time. Also, everybody, don't forget, you can also donate to the show. There is a tab button on there with Mrs. and one of our links that you can donate to the show. We appreciate it if you do, because like I said, we need to pay our producer.
That's right.
So, and also subscribe to our YouTube. We're trying to hit 1,000 followers by the end of the year. That'd be great. Appreciate y'all. Also, when people talk about big cannabis facilities, they're usually exaggerating. Not this time. Cannabis Campus is home to an incredible operation featuring approximately 75,000 square feet of rented space, along with additional 30,000 square feet dedicated to transportation and logistics. This facility was built to support serious cannabis business growth from seed to sale. Inside, you'll find roughly 35,000 square feet dedicated to infusion operations, 15,000 square feet of extraction, and large-scale cultivation space designed to support modern cannabis production. The facility is powered with approximately 5,000 volts of electricity capacity and represents an investment of more than $25 million into the future of cannabis. Whether you're an entrepreneur, investor, operator, or simply fascinated by the cannabis industry, Cannabis Campus offers a unique opportunity to see what a large-scale cannabis operation really looks like. Interested in touring the facility? Reach out directly to Cameron Kuhn at CKUHN100 at yahoo.com. That's CKUHN100 at yahoo.com. Or send us a DM and we'll help you connect with him. Take a look behind the curtains and see where the future of cannabis is being built. And when you reach out, tell them the Weedman 420 Chronicles Podcast sent you. And we'd like to thank Cannabis Campus for throwing to the cause. We appreciate it.
That's right. That's right. It's a beautiful facility. White label. This is your place.
Yeah, this is your place for white labeling. So check him out. Reach out to Mr. Cameron Kuhn. You'll be happy you did. So I was reading an article. I always wondered why a song sticks in your head, even if you heard it like once. Like, it's not the whole song. It's like one line. I'm going to tell you a song that fucking is in my head now, and I'm blaming it on you, Mrs. Weedman.
Okay. Tell me.
It's that song, When I'm Back in Chicago, I feel it. Oh, that's the only line I know. And it's in my friggin' head 24/7.
And it's been out of my head. Now it's back in my head.
It's back in. It, just when you thought it was out,
it's catchy.
They came back right in. Yes.
Damn it.
What is the name of the singer? Steve.
From Stranger Things. I don't know what his real name is.
Oh my God. When I'm back in Chicago,
it's the name of his band.
I feel it. I don't care. I want that song out of my head. Yeah, see? Now it's going to be in your head. So if you ever have a random line to a song loop for your brain for days, months, hours, like I wake up in the morning sometimes and that song is in my head. It's the worst. You're trying to drive to work, you're trying to fall asleep, and this one line will not leave my head. Well, Harvard research
you take the city off the man.
But you know the song.
Take the man out of the...
I don't know it.
When I'm back in Chicago,
I feel it. That I know. So it's a phenomenon that's common. It has a name.
Yeah.
Earworm.
It's an earworm.
Earworm. The funny part is the song doesn't have to be your favorite track. Sometimes it's a tune that you hear at the grocery store or a clip from a social media post or a jingle.
Yeah.
Like, Limu, Emu.
Yeah.
You know, you hear that all the time. And that fucking commercial is in my head all the time. Or one chorus from a song you barely remember. Right? Earworm. So according to this article, earworms tend to be short, repetitive fragments that are easy for the brain to rehearse. Crazy. The brain is constantly predicting and completing patterns and catchy melodies. How many times have you listened to a song once or maybe a couple times and you just remember that chord like we just sang?
Oh, God, yeah.
How many times? Can you sing another song?
So, no.
No.
No, but there's so many songs that all you know is
that
like
one line.
One phrase of the entire song.
Right. It's just
and you'll
crazy.
like jam out the whole time the song's on and then just scream out those like 10 words that you know.
So the study points out that earworms are not usually signs of something is wrong. So don't think you have like a worm in your ear, like eating your eardrum out. Most people experience them and they often fade on their own. It comes from like stress, boredom, repeated exposure, and emotional associations that can make them more likely. But the exact trigger varies between us, like between person to person.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe your earworm might be a little bit different than my earworm. So how do you get rid of one? So this article mentions simply by trying to suppress the song can backfire. Which I've tried.
Yeah, I've tried that.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
at all.
I know.
It's still in my fucking head.
Like I'm going to listen to more other music.
It doesn't
Other
work.
songs I love.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'll start singing them.
Nope.
And then it'll knock that.
Just that one-liner.
Yeah.
So instead of listening to the full track, shift attention to another engaging activity or giving your brain a different musical pattern to chew on. And it might help interrupt that loop, that earworm loop that you're getting.
Moment.
Yeah. So if you're listening to a song suddenly, Mrs. Weedman, and it popped into your head because we said earworm, congratulations. Your brain's DJ just quoted the next track without asking. Oh my God. Lately, more so than ever, like the last couple of months, there's been some songs I've listened to besides the one we just sang for the world. We did a duet.
Yeah, right.
Let's duet. I have a line from that song, and I won't sing it because you don't probably know it. So, but yes. So it's happened the last few months. Not only with just that song, it's been a bunch of different randos that of them I heard with you listening in the car or Spotify. I'm listening to my playlist or something. Like I'll wake up at like 6 a.m, like in a negative mood, and that's the one line from that song chorus pops in my head. I'm like, you fucking come on now, let's go.
Go away. You
Earworm.
can't wish it away.
No, it doesn't go. It doesn't happen.
No.
And trying, like I said, trying to put another.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. So earworms, everybody.
Earworms.
Good weed.
Yeah.
Thank you, FOMO77 Tree. We appreciate you. So,
I'm out there.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm all right though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're all right, Spider.
Yeah. My eyes want to close.
Might
Might take a little nap over
here.
here.
Hit you behind the eyes.
I feel my eyelids feel like bean bags. Where's the cornhole?
Oh.
I mean, the game.
I don't know if everybody. Where'd your mind go?
You apparently went somewhere.
It didn't go there.
No?
I was talking about not everybody knows cornhole, though.
Well, not everybody knows cornhole. Period. Apparently. I'm not even sure that I know what cornhole is.
Some people call them bags. You know, some people call it the Midwesterners.
Get your mind out of the gutter, people.
Yeah, right? Mrs. Weedman. All right, everybody.
Clean it up.
You ready to get this show started? It's starting to get a little out there. Maybe everybody would like us talking more about cornhole.
Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole.
Name the show.
Beavis and Butthead. I had to act stupid for a second.
You gotta put your shirt over your head like this and go.
I
am the great cornholio. I need TP for my butthole. If you are watching on YouTube, you got to see us.
Doesn't his lip curl under?
Yeah. Oh. All right. We're getting the show started. You ready, Mr.
Yeah. Get your shit back together, Mr. Weedman.
Oh, I gotta get my shirt on right. My nipples were hanging out on that one.
My.
Oh, sorry, everybody. YouTube, you got a little show there for a second. Mrs. Weedman Mrs. Weedman was showing some belly there too. It was kind of nice.
No, I got my belly tucked away. She's covered.
Mine wasn't. Oh, man. So, hopefully you all enjoyed that little
my God,
couple
you
minutes.
showed your belly on TV.
I did on YouTube. I'm in trouble.
it.
Maybe we might get some more fucking views. Instead of like 100 we might get like 500. It'd be kind of nice. Whoa, why?
Whoa.
Mr. Weedman showed his nip.
Sex
his
sells,
nips.
you know?
Yeah, but not this old man.
No, I think we missed that mark.
Yeah, we were about 20 years late.
Yeah.
You were talking about doing a
how about we just, fuck it.
toes. You were talking about doing
I've got
toes.
sisters. I'm like, let's all
5 sisters' toes.
just do stupid frickin' shit with our feet.
You have pretty feet.
And give the
all
people
of it.
what they want.
Except for the little pinky toe. That's triangle. You got a triangle pinky toe.
I do not have a triangle pinky toe.
You do.
It's not a triangle.
It's all your sisters have the same pinky toes.
It's really not a triangle.
It's the nail is.
No, it's
and
not.
you gouge eyes out with that thing.
Oh, shut up.
That's your superpower.
Can't even believe it.
All right, we're getting the show started.
Should we talk about your toes? No, I'm just joking.
My toes
you
aren't
have nice
pretty.
toes.
Oh, I do? Thanks.
Yeah, all right.
I appreciate that.
For a guy's feet.
That's even better. I'll take that as a compliment. So they're covered.
Nice feet.
They're covered with
You're
curtains. My slippers. Gotta be comfortable, everybody, when you're recording. So I wear slippers when I record. So let's go. The research comes from a paper currently under review on SSRN titled CBD has facilitative effects on sexual motivation of sexual inhibited male rats. The study explored whether CBD, one of the most popular cannabinoids on the market, could affect sexual behavior and sexual motivation in male rats. My uncle Louis from St. Louis sent me a picture one time. It said CBD for penis control.
For penis control.
And there was nothing left in there. Nothing left in the in the container. I said, "Did you eat the whole fucking thing?"
Yeah. One time.
Because I don't know if they work or not. I'm fucking 76. I don't know if he's an old truck driver. So he goes, I don't know if they work or not, but I take them anyway. I'm like, all right, do you walk up pissing in your face every morning because you took a whole bottle of them or something? So now before anybody gets too excited and starts calling CBD nature little blue pill, remember this research was conducted in rats, not humans. Still, the findings are interesting because they help scientists understand how cannabinoids may interact with behaviors beyond anxiety and inflammation. The research looked into two different groups of male rats. The first group consisted of sexually experienced rats that already displayed normal sexual behavior. The second group consisted of sexually sedated rats. These animals had essentially entered a temporary state of sexual inhibition. Man, sorry about that. Meaning their motivation and interest in mating significantly decreased. Oof. The scientists wanted to know whether CBD can influence sexual motivation in either group, or whether long-term CBD use might have any negative effects on normal sexual function. To find out, they administered various doses of CBD orally and observed changes in mating-related behaviors. One of the key measurements was something called intromission latency, which is essentially the amount of time it takes for a male rat to initiate sexual activity. Researchers often use the measurement as an indicator of sexual motivation. The results were pretty intriguing. In sexual experienced rats, the pros, acute CBD treatment produced what scientists call biphasic effect. In simple terms, different doses produce different outcomes. Some doses appeared to improve sexual motivations, while others had little effect or different effects altogether. That's something research frequently sees with cannabinoids, where dosage can dramatically influence results. The more dramatic findings came from the sexually inhibited rats. In those animals, a specific dose of CBD appeared to reverse the sexual inhibited state. Rats that had shown reduced motivation suddenly became more interested in sexual activity. Woo! Researchers also used a sexual incentive motivation test and found that CBD-treated rats displayed increased motivation compared to untreated animals. In other words, CBD appeared to help restore sexual interest in rats that had temporarily lost it. The research then looked at chronic use. They administered both low and high doses of CBD over a 14-day period to sexually experienced male rats. Importantly, they found no evidence that chronic CBD treatment impaired normal sexual behavior. The animals continued to perform normally, and researchers did not observe the kind of sexual dysfunction that sometimes becomes a concern when discussing long-term use of medications and affect the central nervous system. The findings could be particularly important because millions of people now use CBD products regularly to stress sleep, pain management, and general wellness. The researchers concluded that acute CBD treatment appears to have pro-sexual effects, particularly by increasing sexual motivation in both sexual competent and sexual inhibited male rats. Meanwhile, chronic CBD use did not appear to produce unwanted sexual side effects in healthy male rats. Of course, there are some important limitations. First, the study involved rats, not people. Animal studies are valuable because they allow research and investigate biological mechanisms, but the results don't always translate directly to humans. Second, the paper is currently under review, meaning it has not yet completed the full peer review process that scientific journals use to evaluate research quality and methodology. Excuse me, everybody. Still, the findings open an interesting avenue for future research. Its similarly effects are eventually observed in humans, and I'm going to talk to you about this in a second. CBD could potentially be explored as a treatment for options, certain sexual dysfunctions that involve reduced motivation or desire. For now, the takeaway is pretty straightforward. The study suggests that CBD may increase sexual motivation in male rats under certain conditions, but long-term use did not appear to negatively affect normal sexual behavior. And another reminder that cannabinoids continue to surprise researchers with their wide range of effects throughout the body and brain. And somewhere out there's a lab rat is probably wondering why his love life suddenly became a topic of scientific importance. Now, I take CBD quite often.
Yep.
You and I were both born of the year of the rat.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say I am a rat in the sales profession world. I sell like a rat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cunning, so CBD works on me because I still chase you around like a rat. I'm a male rat. I chase you around the house because I take CBD and my sexual functions go through the roof. So this study should be about Mr. Weedman. You've heard me all say this on the show. I'm a rat. I'm a sales rat. I sell like a rat. Okay, I'm cunning.
Don't.
I am. Don't think negatively of rats. You all out there think negatively of rats. They're cunning. They're going to survive a nuclear explosion. They can feed themselves. We've seen rats in the subways of New York just taking pizza. We saw a rat eating a pigeon the other day on a video. Remember that? You shouldn't like, look at this fucking rat. I said, yeah, rats are the best salesmen. They could fucking get in anywhere. They could sell to anybody. They could do anything. Rats are good animals. Mm-hmm. Now, there's rats that have brought plagues and shit like that, but you know what? A dirty rat. I'm not a dirty rat. I'm just a rat. I'm the one that kept as a pet that you see people petting and loving. They're good pets if you like a rat. I don't want a rat, but because you already have a rat, right? I like this triangle kush. I need FOMO to 773 to send this more. This is supposed to knock you down. This is so tell us, Mrs. Weedman. 2 in 3 Americans who use marijuana say it helps them sleep better. This is more research. This is a new survey shows. Tell us about it.
So I came across an article from Marijuana Moment that looked at a new survey on cannabis and sleep. And honestly, the results probably won't surprise a lot of cannabis consumers. The survey was conducted by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and included over 2,000 American adults. What they found was that about 2/3 of people who use cannabis say it helps them sleep better. Specifically, 35% said it significantly improved their sleep, while 29% said it helped at least a little. Looking at all adults surveyed, not just cannabis users, about 1/3 reported better sleep while using marijuana. 11% said it had no impact, and 8% said it actually made their sleep worse. Nearly half of those surveyed said they don't use cannabis at all. One thing I found interesting was that the adults were between 25 and 44 years, and they were the most likely group to report better sleep from cannabis use. Men were also more likely than women to say cannabis improved their sleep. Now, before anyone starts saying, see, cannabis is the perfect sleep medicine, even the sleep experts involved in the survey pointed out that the relationship between cannabis and sleep is complicated. While many people report sleeping better, there are still questions about long-term use, sleep quality, daytime drowsiness, and how different cannabinoids affect different people. And honestly, that's something we've talked about before. Cannabis isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. What works great for one person may not work for somebody else. Some people swear by cannabis for insomnia, chronic pain, or anxiety-related sleep issues. Others might find that certain products leave them groggy, and they don't really help at all. What stood out to me is that we're seeing more data showing people are actively choosing cannabis over some traditional sleep aids. Recent federal data found that about 3.7% of adults use marijuana or CBD products regularly to help them sleep, and cannabis is becoming an increasingly common part of people's nighttime routines. The survey confirms what a lot of cannabis consumers have been saying for years. Many people feel like cannabis helps them get a better night's sleep. But it's also a reminder that everybody's body responds differently, and finding the right product, cannabinoid profile, and dosage can make a huge difference. So if you're one of those people who says cannabis helps you sleep, according to this survey, you are definitely not alone.
There you go. Sleep.
Sleep.
I love weed and sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And CBN would sleep.
And it's
all of
like,
it.
as soon as the edible falls off, I wake up.
Yep.
And then I toss and turn.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's
You
like
should
it just works so well
You need to
when
take
it
more
works.
than
Like,
you need to take 20 milligrams now, maybe.
yeah, or just wake up in the middle
Because we're
of the
taking a
night.
trifecta right now. We're taking 10 milligrams of THC, 10 milligrams of CBN, and 10 milligrams of CBD. This
And
one's
then smoking 50-50 CBG and a kush.
Yeah, or some kind of nighttime strain.
Yeah.
Some kind of sleepy sleep
Yeah.
strain. And
Or CBG. Did I say CBG?
CBG
Yeah.
and some kind of, you've been mixing it, and
Yeah.
I'm out. And Mrs. Weedman makes me laugh because she always, next day, she goes, did I keep you up all night? I'm like, I didn't fucking hear anything until I wake up, usually because 6:30 in the morning, I got to go pee.
Yeah.
So that's when I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it's like you're tossing a little bit here and there, and I toss and sleep until about 7 and then wake up, So, I don't hear you at all. Once that edible kicks in, boy,
And I'm like a sardine flopping every 2
that's
seconds.
it.
Maybe this side, maybe this side, maybe this side, maybe this side, maybe this.
Sucks getting old.
Oh my God.
So,
I used to just roll my eyes at the old people who talked about sleep all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, or to get one night good sleep.
I guess I'm the old people who talk about sleep all the time, huh?
I'm out.
We're getting there.
So this article comes from Unilad, covering a newly published study from researchers at the University of Geneva that looked at cannabis use and testosterone level in young men. And let's just say the results are in. And they weren't exactly what a lot of people expected. For years, one of the most common claims surrounding cannabis has been it lowers testosterone, hurts fertility, and turns every stoner into a guy who'd rather nap than do anything else. Not me, Ms. Weedman.
Yeah.
I was smoking weed and started smoking when I was 13, and we had our first kid when we were I was 22, you were 23. So yeah, this is all off for somebody like this rat right here. So researchers examined blood samples of 94 young Swiss men between the ages of 18 and 23. Half of the participants were confirmed cannabis users, while the other half were non-users. Instead of looking at just one hormone, scientists performed a detailed analysis of multiple sex hormones and related compounds in the bloodstream. What they found surprised them. The cannabis users had testosterone levels that were roughly 23% higher than non-users. That's the opposite of what many older studies and common assumptions, everybody. You know what assumptions are? Yes.
Asses assume.
Yes.
Oh, a moth.
Oh,
no. You missed it.
Missed it. So not before everyone starts replacing the gym membership with dispensary visits, the scientists were quick to add some important caveats. Higher testosterone does not automatically mean better fertility, better health, or better sexual performance. Human biology is rarely that simple. The researchers emphasize that testosterone is the only one piece of a larger reproductive puzzle. Factors like sperm count, sperm quality, hormone sensitivity, and overall health all play major roles as well. In fact, one of the most interesting parts of the study is that research aren't entirely sure why the testosterone increase exists. One possibility is that cannabis directly affects the Leydig cells that specialize in cells in the testes that produce testosterone. Another possibility is that the elevated hormone levels aren't caused by cannabis at all. It could simply be that men who naturally have higher testosterone levels may be more likely to engage in risk-taking behaviors, including cannabis use. In other words, the testosterone could come first and the cannabis use second. That's one of the challenges with this type of research. The study found a correlation, but cannot prove causation. Researchers observed an association between cannabis use and testosterone levels, but they can't say with certainty that one directly caused the other. The findings also help explain why cannabis research on hormones has been so confusing over the years. Some earlier studies suggested testosterone decreases with cannabis use. Others found no significant change. Still, others reported small increases. Scientists now believe factors such as frequency of use, dosage, age, lifestyle, individual biology may all influence the results. So what's the takeaway? The study suggests that cannabis use among men was associated with higher testosterone levels, not lower levels. However, researchers are not claiming cannabis boosts fertility, improves reproductive health, or should be used as some kind of hormone therapy. Much more research is needed before anyone can draw those conclusions. For now, the biggest lesson may be that cannabis science continues to challenge long-held assumptions. Every time researchers think they've got a plant figured out, cannabis basically responds with, actually, there's another chapter you haven't read yet. And somewhere out there, a group of gym bros just heard 23% higher testosterone and immediately started asking their bud tender for pre-workout strains. So, Ms. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
Tell us how this study shows surprising link between social media use and cannabis.
Yep, this is an interesting article from Green State, and it looks at a new study examining the connection between social media use and cannabis use among teenagers. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, this wasn't a study saying social media causes people to smoke weed. It's a little more nuanced than that. Researchers analyzed data from more than 1,700 young people in Australia and found that teens who frequently used social media were about 3 times more likely to report using cannabis compared to those who use social media less often. By ages 18 and 19, more than 1/3 of the participants reported having used cannabis. What really caught the researchers off guard, the article didn't explain the connection. They expected factors like anxiety, emotional distress, or mental health struggles to play a major role. Instead, those factors didn't appear to be the primary reason frequent social media users were more likely to try cannabis. The researchers believe things like impulsive behavior, risk taking, peer influence, and exposure to content that normalizes certain behaviors may be more important factors. In other words, if a teenager is constantly exposed to content showing cannabis use as normal, trendy, or socially accepted, it could potentially influence their willingness to experiment. I think it's important to keep this in perspective. The study found an association, not proof, of cause and effect. This doesn't mean every teenager scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, or whatever app is popular is suddenly going to start consuming cannabis. And it certainly doesn't mean everyone who uses cannabis was influenced by social media. What I found interesting is that researchers used some pretty advanced statistical methods to try separating social media's influence from other background factors. Even after accounting for things like internet access and phone ownership, they still found a significant relationship between frequent social media use and cannabis use. The findings also line up with other recent research suggesting that social media exposure can shape young people's expectations about cannabis. If the content they see makes cannabis seem fun, harmless, or something everyone's doing, oh, alcohol?
Mhm.
Yeah. That can influence attitudes long before someone ever decides whether to try it themselves. For me, this isn't really about cannabis. It's about the influence. Yes. Social media has become one of the most powerful forces shaping how young people think about everything, whether it's fashion, politics, health, fitness, alcohol, vaping, cannabis, whatever. The platforms themselves aren't necessarily good or bad, but they can absolutely affect how behaviors are perceived. As cannabis advocates, I think this is a topic where we need balance. We can support legalization, education, and responsible adult use while also recognizing that young people are highly influenced by the content they consume online. Accurate information is really important because if social media is going to be part of the cannabis conversation, we'd rather see education than misinformation. And while the study doesn't prove social media causes cannabis use, it does suggest that what teens see online might play a larger role in shaping their decisions than researchers previously thought. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes for everything, right?
Oh, not just
Good or
cannabis.
bad stuff,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, whatever is a catchy TikTok
I
or,
mean, how many times I come up to you in a TikTok video,
look at. Yeah.
just about like stuff you could do around the house,
Yeah.
different tools, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, like pest control. I'm like showing you all that. I don't have Instagram or YouTube. I mean, Instagram or Facebook anymore because I got booted. So I'm on TikTok and I love watching all these videos, learning videos. I've learned so much on TikTok on how to do stuff, tick control, pest control, dog stuff. That's what I use it for information. And it's helped me a lot how to learn how to fix stuff, which
Yeah.
I sucked at for so many years. So it all depends on how you use it, right?
Right.
So political state and business news, a Republican congressman made headlines after declaring marijuana legalization is the worst thing to happen to states that adopted it. I think you're the worst thing. Actually, did I say that? I'm sorry. Critics quickly pointed to tax revenue, job creation, reduced arrests, and thriving regulated markets as evidence that many voters disagree. Apparently, some politicians look at billions in revenue and say, yep, total disaster. A group of doctors and pharmaceutical companies have filed a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration marijuana rescheduling effort. The plaintiffs argue the move could harm their interests and raise regulatory concerns. Cannabis reform may be advancing, but apparently nothing says progress quite like another trip to federal court. Despite dozens of publicly traded cannabis companies, many investors and analysts continue focusing on only a handful of major players. Industry advocates argue that broader market is being overlooked, potentially hiding opportunities and innovation. Wall Street's cannabis homework appears to be the financial equivalent of reading only the first chapter. Oklahoma's once booming cannabis market continues facing major challenges as oversupply, falling prices, and intense competition squeeze growers and operators. Many businesses that rushed in during the green rush are now struggling to survive. Turns out growing weed is easy, making money from it is the advanced class. Ain't that the fucking truth? Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear expanded the list of qualifying conditions for a state's medical cannabis program, allowing more patients access once the program launches. Supports say the move increases treatment options for those dealing with serious health issues. Kentucky's patients list keeps growing faster than tomatoes in July. And a friend of mine in Kentucky grows tomato weed. So yes, they don't. They just grow faster. Actually, Kentucky's excited. I know some people that have been down there working already and opening up their facility and opening up dispensaries. It's there's some companies that are really going to be getting into Kentucky here pretty quick. This governor is really like
ready to go.
Been ready. It's going. You know. And
no, I know, but like it's like they want it to roll.
Oh yeah,
they
want this to really succeed. Oh yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I've smoked some great Kentucky weed. Up those farmers up in the Blue Ridge Mountains up there. Over the years, I've gotten some great Kentucky. Make fun. Kentucky bluegrass is what I'm going to call it. But yeah, I've smoked like the guy I was just mentioning. He grows a tomato weed. And why? Because he has his tomato plants that surround his 2 weed plants, so the flavors from the tomato kind of get to the weed a little bit too. It's kind of nice. I brought some of it home one time too. So the FDA has approved a THC-based medication for chronic pain research and treatment discussions, adding further chapter to the ongoing debate over cannabis-derived medicines. Pennsylvania lawmakers passed a legislation allowing terminally ill patients to use medical marijuana while receiving care in hospitals. Hell yeah. Cannabis investors are closely watching federal rescheduling efforts, with many believing regulatory changes can unlock new opportunities and attract additional institutional capital. The industry remains cautious but optimistic about the future growth. Cannabis investors have become professional marathon runners. They've been waiting on federal reform forever. Louisiana officials continue evaluating the refining aspects of state's medical marijuana program as patients' participation grows. Policymakers are considering changes aimed at improving access and programming efficiency. A Wyoming official formally objected to marijuana rescheduling under the state law following the Trump administration's federal action. The move highlights ongoing tensions between state and federal cannabis policies across the country. Cannabis reform, the only issue where the government says yes, while another immediately says absolutely not. Several Wisconsin Democratic gubernatorial candidates are pledging to advance marijuana legalization and protect the hemp industry if elected in 2027. The issue is shaping up to be a significant topic in the state's upcoming political debates. Wisconsin's politicians are finally realizing voters may care about cannabis almost as much as cheese. Now passing that joint over to you.
That says
Mrs.
a lot.
Weedman.
That says a lot. All right, I've got some more political, state, and business news. Over in Iowa, their governor signed legislation doubling the number of medical cannabis dispensaries allowed to operate in the state. That's good news. Supporters say the expansion should improve patient access and reduce travel burdens for those seeking treatment, because nothing says medical program quite like needing a road trip and snacks just to pick up your medicine. So, fantastic news. South Carolina lawmakers are still debating the future of THC-infused beverages as regulators, businesses, and lawmakers wrestle with questions about safety, oversight, and consumer access. The market for cannabis drinks keeps growing nationwide despite the uncertainty. Federal regulations continue creating confusion around cannabis seeds. Yes, people, seeds, right? With legal experts highlighting how certain laws technically treat seeds differently than mature cannabis plants. I think that's the right way. But the issue has sparked debate among growers and regulators alike. Nothing says government logic, that is, quite like a seed being legal until it becomes a plant. But really, the seed has it's just a seed. There's no THC in it. There's no CBD in it. It is literally a seed.
I know. I have more. We're going to be talking about that soon.
Okay. Restaurant chains Logan's Roadhouse has added hemp-derived THC beverages to menus at select locations, reflecting growing mainstream acceptance of cannabis-adjacent products. The move follows a broader trend of restaurants experimenting with alternative beverages. I just saw that on the Fox River. There's a restaurant right on the main thoroughfare intersection, and their beer garden had every other umbrella was for a canned THC drink.
Crazy.
And it said THC on the umbrellas.
Yep. They're marketing it.
Yep.
Yep.
And
While they can,
yeah.
or hopefully they still can.
Yeah. Good for them. Illinois cannabis sales remain strong, but certain concerns persist about market competition, licensing issues, and long term industry growth. Illinois stakeholders continue pushing for reforms that could create more opportunities for smaller operators. That is a must. Because running a business here these days is starting to sound like juggling while riding a unicycle in high heels. I hear that. Alabama
Woo!
officially recorded its first legal medical marijuana purchase.
Woo!
Yay! Marking a historic milestone for patients and advocates who have spent years pushing for access. The purchase represents a major step forward as the state's medical cannabis program finally gets underway. Sometimes progress arrives fashionably late, but at least she showed up.
5 years.
Yeah.
And there's a song that I was looking on my phone. I had to go on my phone. I never really go on my phone when we're recording the show, but it's on my liked songs. And I've had this song in my liked songs for years. The song is called Alabama by Bishop Gunn.
Oh, this is a good song.
I can't play it because YouTube will cancel me
yeah.
out. But look at it, Alabama. I love you. Roll Tide. I'm so happy finally. I mean,
we used to laugh about Alabama and their suppositories.
Yes.
That was the only way you could get legal
you're gonna get
cannabis.
high.
Yeah.
But
You've come a long way.
Yes, and there's 11 more stores coming right behind this one. So Alabama, I hope I don't die in Alabama. But I tell you what, I love you, and I'm so happy for you. Finally, Alabama has come to the show. Go ahead, Ms. Weedman. Sorry.
Yeah. The WNBA has removed marijuana from its banned substances list and established new guidelines regarding player endorsements of hemp and CBD products. This policy change reflects evolving attitudes toward cannabis across professional sports. Women athletes are scoring points on court, and now they're getting a little more freedom off court, too. Some Republican lawmakers are expressing concerns that marijuana businesses could receive significant federal tax relief if rescheduling efforts move forward. Industry advocates argue that cannabis companies deserve treatment similar to other legal businesses. Imagine opening a legal business and spending years asking permission to be taxed like one. So, this is long overdue. A federal appeals court upheld the use of rap lyrics as evidence in certain drug-related criminal cases, a decision that continues to generate debate about artistic expression and criminal investigations. Critics worry the practice may blur the lines between creativity and criminal intent. Good thing most of my shower solos aren't being entered into evidence. Funny. Virginia lawmakers and the governor are reportedly discussing a compromise that could finally advance marijuana sales in the state. Negotiations continue as both sides work toward a proposal with enough support to pass. Virginia's cannabis talks are starting to resemble a reality dating show. With lots of meetings, lots of drama, and everyone's wondering who's getting the final rose. State cannabis officials are working to educate visiting World Cup fans on how to consume marijuana legally and responsibly during tournament festivities. The effort aims to prevent confusion as international visitors arrive from regions with very different cannabis laws. Nothing says welcome to America quite like needing a rule book before lighting a joint. I think that's actually a great idea. Like if you got off the airplane and when you pick up your baggage, there's like a little pass out or a QR code so you know what the laws are where you're at.
Yeah, I think
that would be great.
Too. I think that's great too.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Make that, somebody. Make that shit.
A fact check reviewed claims that New York has legalized cannabis consumption in coffee shops and found that reality is more complicated. While some businesses are exploring cannabis-friendly concepts, state regulations still limit where legal consumption can occur. New Yorkers can put almost anything in their coffee order, but apparently cannabis still comes with extra fine print. Michigan regulators discovered marijuana packaging originating from California during an inspection of licensed cannabis company. The findings have raised questions about compliance, product tracking, and interstate cannabis restrictions. The Mendocino County Museum is seeking public submission to help preserve, document the region's rich marijuana history. Organizers hope to capture stories, artifacts, and memories from generations of cultivators, community members. Cannabis has officially reached a point where your old grow stories might belong in a museum exhibit. Michigan wholesale cannabis tax is generating significantly less revenue than originally projected as falling prices continue impacting the state's market. So that 24% tax that they added ain't helping. Industry leaders say oversupply, intense competition are squeezing profits across the board. Turns out collecting taxes get harder when the product price drops faster than a stoner on a beanbag chair. You can't, your prices were already low enough. There was no more room to make money. You are now slim right now. And it's not going to get any better. It's like last month, it was like one of the first months that they were down in sales in a very long time. I mean, you're still over $200 million, but still, I mean, you were the epitome of just like, holy smokes, Michigan is killing it. More closures of dispensaries, cultivation. I think one company closed 5 dispensaries in a cultivation, 250 people gone. It's not going to get any better. That governor fucked you guys all out there. I feel sorry for you. Several lawsuits are challenging the DA's position on hemp-derived THC products, adding another chapter to the ongoing debate over hemp cannabinoids and federal regulations. The case could influence how similar compounds are treated moving forward. The hemp industry now spends almost as much time reading legal briefs as product labels. Industry experts are debating whether federal marijuana rescheduling could help revive the medical cannabis sector, which has struggled in some markets, and recreational expansion. Advocates believe renewed medical focus could benefit patients and operators alike. Illinois lawmakers continue grappling with the complicated relationship between state marijuana laws, hemp regulations, and evolving federal policies. Businesses are watching closely as policymakers attempt to create clearer rules for consumers and operators. Debate over high-potency cannabis products are growing nationwide as policymakers examine concerns about psychosis, addiction risk, and consumer safety. Advocates argue education and responsible use are better solutions than broad restrictions. Somewhere between prohibition and panic lies the revolutionary concept of teaching people how products actually work. The TSA clarified guidance regarding medical marijuana and air travel, reminding travelers that federal and state laws can still create complications when flying. Patients are encouraged to research regulations before heading to the airport. A commentary piece argues that marijuana legalization has not eliminated illicit cannabis markets and instead created additional competition between legal and illegal operators. Supporters of legalization counter that regulated markets still provide consumer protection and tax revenue. Federal marijuana prosecutions reached another record low in 2025. As state legalization efforts continue expanding across the country, the trend reflects shifting enforcement priorities and changing public attitudes towards cannabis. It's amazing how much government paperwork disappears when millions of people stop treating cannabis like a national emergency. And that's political state and business news, everybody. Mr. Weedman's got a good one here, though, because I'm a medical patient, and I feel like we're being forgotten. As long as you don't take my home grow away, though, you take that, the costume's coming out, and I'll be on those steps of Springfield real motherfucking quick. So, but you can't forget what built this industry. So Ms. Weedman is going to tell you the patients who built cannabis legalization are being forgotten. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Yep. I came across a really heartwarming article from Green State about something called the Shelter Project, which is run by Jetty Extracts. And with all the stories we cover about regulations, lawsuits, taxes, and politics, it's nice once in a while to share a cannabis story that's simply about helping people. The Shelter Project started back in 2014 with a pretty straightforward mission: provide free cannabis products to cancer patients who are facing financial hardship. The idea was inspired by the concept of giving back through business. Basically, for every customer they served, they wanted to make sure patients in need could access cannabis as well. Over the years, what started as a small compassion program has grown into something much bigger. Today, the program operates in California, Colorado, and New York and has donated more than $1.2 million worth of cannabis products to over 1,300 cancer patients. One of the things that stood out to me in the article was that the program isn't just about handing out products. A big focus is on the human connection. The article highlighted Lindsay Friedman, who has managed the program for years. She has her own history of chronic illness and talked about how cannabis helped her when traditional medications didn't. Because of those experiences, she was able to connect with patients on a very personal level and understood what many of them were going through. The story also touched on the roots of compassionate cannabis programs. Long before legalization became a mainstream political issue, activists and patients were fighting for access to cannabis for people living with serious illnesses. Compassion programs were often created to help people who couldn't afford their medicine but relied on it for relief and quality of life. The Shelter Project sees itself as continuing that tradition. Something else I found interesting is that legalization didn't automatically make these programs easier to run. In California, when adult use cannabis became legal under Proposition 64, it actually created legal complications for compassion programs. It took additional legislation and advocacy efforts to restore pathways for cannabis donations to patients in need. Jetty's founders were reportedly involved in pushing for those reforms because they wanted programs like Shelter to survive. The article included stories from patients who said the donated products helped improve their quality of life during cancer treatment. And while companies obviously can't make medical claims or promise specific outcomes, many participants described feeling supported, not only by the products themselves, but by the fact that someone genuinely cared about what they were experiencing. It's easy to get caught up in the business side of cannabis and forget that the industry was built in large part by patients and caregivers. Whether someone supports medical cannabis, adult use legalization, or both, compassion programs like this remind us that access can be a real challenge for people dealing with serious illness and financial stress. At the end of the day, regardless of where you stand on cannabis policy, helping people who battle cancer maintain a little more comfort and dignity seems like a pretty worthwhile goal. And it's encouraging to see some companies still investing time and resources into that mission.
Nice.
Yeah.
Want to light that joint up
Oh, yeah.
while I go into international news, everybody?
Yep.
We're going to smoke some more of that Triangle Kush. A member of Nepal's parliament is urging the country to view cannabis as an economic opportunity rather than solely an intoxicating substance. Supporters argue that legalization and regulation could generate billions in revenue, create jobs, and boost agriculture. A newly revealed letter from the International Narcotics Control Board reportedly confirms that CBD is not subject to international drug control treaties. The disclosures could provide additional clarity for countries developing CBD regulations and markets. After years of confusion, CBD is basically standing up and saying, can everybody please stop putting me in the wrong category? Authorities in the United Kingdom continue raising concerns about illegal vape products as regulators confront growing issues involving product safety, youth access, and black market sales. The debate highlights challenges facing rapidly evolving nicotine and cannabis-adjacent markets. Nothing motivates regulators quite like discovering somebody's mystery vape contains ingredients that sound like science fiction. They were saying there was also like spice being put in these vapes now, and uh, uh, fentanyl. We've heard about
Yeah.
that, but spice and K2 and all that shit, they're putting in these vapes and fucking some kids up. So New South Wales in Australia has introduced changes that prevent some medical cannabis patients from being immediately penalized during roadside drug testing encounters. Advocates say the reform better reflects the realities of legal cannabis use. It's a novel concept, treating patients like patients instead of suspects with prescription paperwork. Canadian cannabis retailers are preparing for increased businesses as FIFA World Cup visitors arrive in cities such as Toronto and Vancouver. Shops expect international tourists to bring curiosity about Canada's legal cannabis market. For some visitors, the World Cup souvenir list now includes jerseys, photos, and maybe a dispensary receipt. India's Himachal Pradesh government has approved a medical cannabis policy, opening the doors for regulated cannabis and cultivation, research, and therapeutic applications. Supporters believe the program could create economic opportunities while expanding access to cannabis-based medicine. A major U.S. tobacco company has entered the Netherlands legal cannabis experiment, making another example of large corporations moving into regulated marijuana markets. Industry observers are closely watching how the partnership performs. The cannabis industry keeps saying it wants legitimacy, and then Big Tobacco shows up saying, did somebody say expansion? And that is international news, everybody. I'm going to smoke this J while Mrs. Weedman tells you about cannabis and Islam, a complex and often misunderstood history. Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, this is a good one. I found this fascinating. It's an article from International High Life, and it explored the history of cannabis in Islam. And honestly, it was one of those pieces that challenged some assumptions people might have about the relationship between cannabis and the Muslim world. Today, many people associate Islam with strict prohibitions on intoxicants, and that's certainly part of the story. But according to historians, the relationship between cannabis and Islamic societies has been much more complex over the centuries. One interesting point is that cannabis wasn't specifically mentioned in the Quran. The Quran explicitly prohibits alcohol and intoxication, but cannabis wasn't widely known in the Arabian Peninsula during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad. Historians generally believe cannabis use became more common in parts of the Islamic world several centuries later as trade routes expanded into Persia, Central Asia, India, and North Africa. As cannabis spread throughout the Islamic world, different cultures and religious scholars developed different views about it. Some scholars argued that because cannabis could intoxicate or alter the mind, it should fall under the same religious prohibitions as alcohol. Others viewed it differently, particularly when it was used for medicinal purposes. The result was an ongoing debate that lasted for centuries and in many ways continues today. The article also discussed the role cannabis played in certain Sufi traditions. Sufism is a mystical branch of Islam focused on the spiritual connection and personal devotion. Historical accounts suggest that some Sufi groups used cannabis as part of spiritual practices, believing it could help facilitate meditation, contemplation, or religious experiences. Not all Muslims agree with these practices, of course, and many religious leaders strongly oppose them. But it shows how diverse viewpoints were across different regions and time periods. Another thing I found interesting was cannabis's role in medieval Islamic medicine. Some of the greatest physicians of the Islamic Golden Age documented cannabis in medical texts and described various therapeutic applications. At the same time, other physicians warned about the potential harms and side effects. So even 1,000 years ago, there were debates that sound surprisingly familiar to conversations we're still having today. But what stood out the most is that there was never one single Islamic preservative on perspective on cannabis, not one single Islamic perspective on cannabis. Across different countries, cultures, religious schools, and historical periods, opinions have varied considerably. Some communities accept limited medicinal use, others prohibit it entirely. Some religious scholars focused on intoxication itself, while others examined the purpose and context of use. Even today, discussions continue among Muslim scholars and communities around the world. The debate is ongoing, and opinions remain diverse. History is usually more complicated than headlines. It's easy to assume cannabis and Islam have always been completely opposed to one another, but the historical record tells a much richer story. Cannabis has appeared in medicine, trade, culture, spiritual practices, and legal debates throughout the Islamic world for centuries. Whether someone agrees with cannabis use or not, understanding the history helps paint a more complete picture of how different cultures and religions have interacted with this plant over time. And as cannabis policies continue evolving around the world, it's interesting to see that many of today's discussions aren't entirely new. They're part of conversations that have been happening for hundreds of years. Pretty cool. I didn't know that.
That's two books that don't mention cannabis in their books. The Bible, here's your lighter,
Thanks.
and the Quran.
Yeah.
They mention alcohol and being intoxicated. A drunkard man is not a,
They
the-
both mention plants, medicinal plants.
yeah. Kind of amazing though
And
that they mention alcohol being bad,
mm-hmm,
okay, but not weed,
no weed.
not at all, not cannabis. That plant is special.
It is.
Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
It is.
You got anything else to say before we go?
Just keep on keeping on, people.
Love it.
Find some really good weed that makes you feel really good.
Like the one we just smoked.
Yeah. And enjoy the ride.
There you go. Oh, good words. Final thoughts by Mrs. Weedman. That's a good one. I like it.
There
I
you
like
go.
it a lot. Hey,
I like
everybody
it.
out there, we love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us all these years. We appreciate you. We love you. Peace, kindness, go live some fucking life and have some fun. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.